Clippers game is one
I'm gonna
time.
bring James in while you're talking.
The first Clippers games was one time, and then these last 2 games over the weekend were the other time. Being like kind of fooled, having your roster, having all your guys, they haven't played like they played these last 2 games the majority of the season. And I don't know what the hell happened over the weekend, but I'm gonna say and hope and think that it won't continue, and they'll play better as it goes along, or at the very least, I should say they better play better. Like those guys who aren't performing, those guys who aren't stepping up, and as a group, they better play better, or we're gonna see a different roster at some point in time.
Let's see what Jeremy Lamb thinks. Jeremy, well, okay. All right.
This is a good one.
Never mind. Let's just bring James Ham in here. James Ham of the Insiders. James, talk me off the ledge, man. I don't think this team is very good.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer and closer to that, right? Like I don't know.
There. I'm glad you guys are getting closer. Like I'm pretty sure that nonsense. Yes, I actually think what happened Friday pushed me over the ledge.
That was awful.
And then I just free falled head first onto a rock yesterday.
Free falling.
Didn't have that on my bingo card today. Wow.
Singing
a song that James knows was not something I was prepared for.
Sing a little Tom Petty for us.
Oh, wow. Petty, I was trying to figure out who that was. You know where I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that. Look, I hope that there is a ledge that everyone can step back from because, again, I think that they have been missing players. I think that they're trying to figure out who they are still. I think there's a major identity crisis and that they just don't really have, an idea of who they are. And that's a problem. I mean, you're too deep into the season to still be, answering a lot of these questions. But I feel like the panic button that gets hit here in Sacramento, it's usually way too early. And then when it's hit, it's usually a nuclear button. And to be honest with you, the last thing I want to see is this thing sort of tear down to nothing in a matter of, 6 months where, you want to hit a panic button right now and you want to make some rash decision, whether it's a coaching decision or like some bad trade that you think might work. Those things usually don't really work out the way you hoped. And like Kyle and I discussed this earlier, look, if you want to hit a panic button right now and we start seeing this thing sort of come apart at the seams, don't be surprised when your star point guard doesn't want to be here for another one of these. Don't be surprised when this thing just it means blowing it up completely and losing everything that you've sort of built. So I would hope that there would be some tweaks, that there would be some maybe a lineup change, maybe something that just kind of makes us all feel a little bit better about what's happening. But as of right now, I don't know what the answer is. But, I think straight up, players have to play better, and they need to hold each other accountable on the court. And if they're not holding each other accountable on the court, Mike needs to do a better job of subbing players out and having conversations with them about where they are in the pecking order and about what their job is supposed to be. Because I don't think everybody's on the same page right now about who the leader of this team is, who the best player is, who the guy, where the ball should be when it matters. I just don't see that right now.
Yeah, James, I think the biggest issue is they're not the guys who are the best shooters on the team aren't making shots. It really comes down to that. Herter, Lyles, and Murray have been awful from beyond the arc. And I know the issue is, the ball movement and assist and all this other stuff. It takes 2 to tango. You're not getting no assists when you're giving these guys wide open looks. They're not shooting with a hand in their face. They're not, off the bounce and all this other stuff. It is wide open, catch and shoot shots, and they're bricking them left and right. And that's, to me, that's not who they are. They're way better shooters than what they've shown. But I had the numbers earlier in the last 3 games. We'll just go by that. It's even worse for a guy like Keegan Murray. But in the last 3 games, those 3 guys, 10 of 46 from beyond the arc, 21%. That's awful. Once again, they're getting wide open shots. You take 3 guys in the game last night: Clowney, Cam Johnson, and Wilson. 10 of 17 in one game. These guys have made 10 of 46 in the last 3 games. So we're just taking. I'm not even talking to Cam Thomas. I'm not even talking about James Harden or Trae Young or any of these other guys. I'm taking the role players, which is what those guys are. They're getting the same looks in these games against the Kings. They're knocking them down at a higher clip. These guys can't make shots to save their lives. And I don't know if that matters, if it matters if DeMar DeRozan is passing it to him or De'Aaron Fox or DeMontis Sabonis. You're getting looks. You have to hit them. You have to. It's non-negotiable.
Oh, I agree with everything you just said there. I totally agree. But I also, when I watch, a guy who just dropped 60 and 49 in consecutive games, when I watch him go out there and score 24 points in the first half on 7 of 9 shooting, and then you come out in the third quarter and it's a 2-man game that doesn't include him, and you just like start grinding things out. Like I'm just totally baffled. I'm baffled with what the plan was there. Like the idea should be for De'Aaron Fox to continue what he's doing and for everybody else to try to figure out how they also can help out and and that doesn't mean put De'Aaron Fox off to the side and have him watch you guys play basketball for 5 minutes and then go out of the game because it's his time to sub out. Like that to me, it doesn't make any sense. And so that's just a straight up a basketball, like if you're a basketball player, like you feed the hot hand. You go to the guy who's cooking, and then other guys go out there, like, for instance, what Keegan Murray did. Keegan Murray wasn't having a good shooting night. He started 1 of 5 from 3, finished with 21 points, didn't take another 3, and he dunked on the Nets like 6 times. Like, he went out and figured it out. He got offensive rebounds. He fed his teammates. He went and moved without the ball. He got open for back cuts and scored easy buckets at the rim. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, figure out how to be effective. Like, for all the things we want to say about Kevin Huerter not, hitting shots, but that's all right. Kevin Huerter has to hit shots. I mean, he's paid to be a shooter. The reason why he makes $17 million a year is not because he's 6'7". It's because he's 6'7" and can hit a 3-point shot. But I will tell you this: the defensive play that he had on Cam Johnson last night, where he just locked him up and then blocked his mid-range jump shot. Like, at least Kevin Huerter was finding ways to be involved in the game and try to help the cause, whether he was hitting shots or not. And I get it that guys have to hit shots. We've been saying it all season long, and it doesn't make sense that every single team walks into Golden One Center and thinks that this is the best shooting gym they've ever been in. And then the Kings on the other side just can't hit their shots at all. That doesn't make any sense at all. But at the same time, basketball sometimes is about what happens when the shots don't fall. How do you find ways to compete? How do you find ways to be part of the action and help your team win? And, some of these guys that aren't hitting shots, at least are trying to help their team win. And they're not, just looking to take another 15 shots because that's what their stat line needs to say. And for me, that's where I kind of like draw the line. Like, show me that you're there to do more than just score. Because outside of that, I think we got a lot of guys that think it's their job to come in there and save the day. And they're not. They're not saving the day with their shooting ability or the scoring ability.
Yeah, real quick, it's not good enough. You got to execute. What we say earlier, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'm like that you're attempting to do things other than make shots, but you're paid to make shots. That's why you're in the league. Knock down the goddamn shots. It's as simple as, like, you can try all you want. If you're shooting 21% from 3, that's not going to get us anywhere. Like, they have to hit the shots. And one of the things that I'm thinking about as we're talking to James Ham and breaking this whole thing down is when you talk about Mike Brown and these guys talking about coming out and not executing the first play of the game. When you talk about these missed shots, and then I think back to all the stuff that they kind of mentioned, the way they talked about it. But oh man, we needed some time off. We need, it's been a crazy schedule and all this other stuff. Hey man, there's a mental toughness that needs to be adjusted around here. Like, I don't care about any of that stuff. Are you winning or are you losing? I'm not saying you're a robot. I'm not saying that it's not crazy, the schedule or whatever the case may be, but there's a lot of other teams that got a crazy schedule too. And looking, and it goes back to, always look, I shouldn't say always. We've heard stories looking for a day off. Oh man, we win. We ain't got no practice tomorrow. Yeah, let's go. That ain't working. That's not working. That's not working. Giving you the day off. The one time it worked, the thing that did work is 2 years ago with Beam Team 1 when they worked their asses into the ground to win those games. And between all this stuff that I'm seeing, man, and I'm not saying that they're doing or we're doing or anything, but all these excuses that's going on, man, it's a bottom line business. You making shots or you not. You winning games or you not. And I think they losing sight of that right now. Every game, we predicted it on Friday, they're going to be down 13, 15 points in the first half. That's inexcusable. Oh, we're just rusty. We ain't played in 5 days, so we got to get back. No, you don't. Play the game and execute. There needs to be a little bit more talk like that around there, in my opinion. Execute. Get the job done. And stop looking for excuses and reason why it can't be done.
Hammer, there was a phrase last night, repeated a lot, started with Mike and I think went to De'Aaron afterwards, and that was attention to detail. It was centered on the idea that the first play of the game is laid out for him and it seems to not be executed properly. Who do you fault for that? We're talking the very first play of the game. We're talking attention to detail, which is clearly something Mike said in the locker room. Who do you blame for this team's lack of attention to detail?
It's a good question, man. I got to be honest with you. Mike came in the door with like binders, right? Everyone knew that Mike is the attention to detail guy. Like, he is all about attention to detail. And when your team isn't following the basics, I mean, I guess you can. The first question people are asked are you tuning out the coach? It's like, okay, well, if you're tuning out this coach, then what coach are you going to listen to? Like, what coach are you going to listen to? Because he's the biggest winner out of all of you. He's the one with rings. You're not. Like, look at the team, the players that he has. Like, I don't know which one of these guys. Is there a ring on this roster? Because I know Mike has won a whole bunch of them as an assistant coach. He's taken teams to the finals. Like, so who isn't following directions? I mean, to be honest with you, like, it's so many of them on any given night. That's the frustrating thing. Like, we shouldn't be talking about, again, I don't think that anyone gets off the hook here at all. Like, when you're talking about the state of the Kings, where they are today, I don't think anyone gets off the hook. De'Aaron Fox has been phenomenal the last week and a half. He wasn't great before that. And not only that, but he's watching the same game we are. He's watching himself not be part of the game plan to open the third quarter. Like, that's not winning basketball. And winning basketball is giving the ball to your best player and letting him cook. And especially when he's already cooking, just keep giving him the ball. And so I don't know, again, Domantas Sabonis is not a guy who should be turning the ball over. What are we up to 32 times in 6 games? That's not okay. And I don't know what the problem is, because we haven't heard a word about a hand or anything else. Again, DeMar DeRozan, you got 26 seconds left in the game, and De'Aaron Fox has to inbound it to DeMar DeRozan, and he doesn't give the ball back to Fox. And then he walks the ball across the timeline and burns almost half of what little time you have left when you need 2 or 3 shots. You don't need 1. And so there are all of these things that we're watching play out. And so, yeah, we can talk about Kevin Huerter missing threes or Keegan Murray missing threes and Trey Lyles missing threes. But that's not the only guys who are at fault here. Like, just because a guy puts up 20 points doesn't mean he had a good game. I mean, we watched last night. One guy had 31 points on 16 shots. Another guy had 18 points on 18 shots. That's not good math.
Yeah.
At all. And so at a certain point, like, you have to look around and say, what is our best opportunity? Who gives us the best opportunity to win? How do we win in this situation? And the answer is pretty simple. Y'all sat there on the injured list and watched him play. Like, I'm not sure why we're asking the question.
Well, the reason why I would ask this question is if we're going to go down that road, when it was, and I'm not saying who it should go through or whatever, but when it was going, they won what, 6 out of 8. Did we forget what DeMar was doing before he got hurt?
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I enjoyed that weekend and everything that was going on, they lost 2 of those 3 games, and we're in position, if it wasn't for probably the Jazz, to lose all 3 of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the winning aspect, we should look more to what happened when they were winning games, as opposed to that weekend that, once again, wasn't any fault of Fox or anybody else like that, but they didn't have enough, clearly. Like, him scoring 60, him scoring 40, that's not necessarily conducive to long-term winning. Being able to have Fox with 25, DeMar with 28, Sabonis with 22, that was getting you winning 6 out of 8 games. So finding a way to get back to that may be the answer.
Well, no, I get what you're saying there, but my counterpoint would be Fox did that and had his team almost win games, which isn't good enough. They went, 1-2, or what did they go that weekend? Yeah, I think 1-2, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's without 3 of the team's best players. And so, I mean, like, look, he kept them in the game, and I know that's not winning the game, but, like, what else are you supposed to ask of somebody? And I get it that just one guy scoring all the points, that's not my point ever. It's not that De'Aaron Fox should take every single shot. But when a guy's cooking, a guy's cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to, like, step back and realize that. And it's, it's never about shot attempts. It shouldn't be about scoring points. The only thing that matters in this league is wins. That's the only thing. And, like, there in each game, there's going to be a different personality and everything. But still, like, last night's game, very specifically, De'Aaron Fox gave you the best opportunity to win. They couldn't stop him. And the only reason he got stopped was not, it was because he stopped going to him. And so, like, look, I don't know how to judge a guy that goes out there and like, basically single-handedly almost wins games. And just for some reason, it coincides. De'Aaron Fox's big, couple of games there coincide with the team hitting all their 3-point shots. Like, look at the shooting numbers. Look at how much better the ball moved. Like, this team has a huge problem with the ball just getting sticky. And again, 21 assists last night. The team's down 4 assists from last season's totals, averages.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not good. And you know what? It's not even fun basketball to watch. It's not. It's ugly, muck it up, grind it out, and then come up short basketball. And that's not what I expected from this team. Like, they're having some major, major growing pains right now. But, sometimes your growing pains end and you're 5'6" and you're not part of the league, like, it's tough, but maybe that's where this team is heading.
I thought you might want to jump in and say, aren't the lost assists just the missed shots?
Yeah, I mean,
you miss shots.
I'm not saying anybody does. I got no tolerance for missing the wide open shots. That's why they're in the league. And I don't care if it's when Fox is out there with himself, playing by himself, or if DeRozan's out there or whatever. You're getting the same wide open looks. The same way that you hit them when DeRozan and those guys are out, you're getting them same looks, knock down the shot. Like, I got nothing for you.
I understand.
You're getting a wide open look. You're in the NBA. That's a majority of the reason why you're in this league right now is because you can knock down those shots at a consistent basis. I expect you, and I think they expect themselves to knock down those shots.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for the missing shots. There's not, but that's not the only problem this team has. Like, this team has all kinds of problems, you know?
Yeah, everybody else knocks down shots against them. That's
I have a. I think I've pinpointed another problem, and James, maybe you can help. Why is Colby Jones playing basketball? Sorry,
Like-
that was a lot. My bad. Why
No.
is Colby Jones playing so many minutes for the Sacramento Kings right now?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, in all honesty, watching the game last night, I think that they looked at him as like a potential defensive matchup.
He has to stop doing this, man. Mike has to stop doing this. It's never name one time that it's worked. It failed with Doug McDermott, for God's sakes. It fails every time he does
Duarte.
this. It failed with Chris Duarte. They shipped Chris Duarte out of here. Why is he doing this? Why does he keep making the same mistake over and over and over again? Just play Keon. Keon was the little magic dust you were looking for last year. Now you hate him.
Yeah, but did Keon not play last night?
Oh, he did. He did, but I don't want to see Colby Jones at all.
Well, yeah, but I
I've seen him
mean,
30 minutes.
he played Keon played 23 minutes. I mean,
How
like,
many did Colby Jones play?
he played 17. But
Why? That's too many.
yeah, but he went with an 8.5 man rotation. You know, you had Doug McDermott play 4 minutes last night. Like,
Oh, that
who
was
was he supposed to turn to?
minutes.
Is it? I mean, I'm looking at the roster for last night, and the 3 guys that didn't play, although Alex Len did step on the court for at least a
Well,
second.
Now, how'd that go, James?
Yeah.
How did that Alex Lynn 0.8 of a second go?
Yeah. So, but it's Alex Len, Jordan McLaughlin, and Orlando Robinson. Like,
Yo, J
Why-
Mac
yeah,
played well when he
why
was
isn't
out there.
Jordan playing half of those Kobe minutes.
well, I mean, in all honesty, I think last night it was about going up against a team that has a bunch of big guards, and he didn't play Jordan McLaughlin. And also, like, how many games this season has Jordan played in where they didn't win? And I'm not like calling out Jordan McLaughlin. Everybody on this team has played in games where they didn't win. But
No, this isn't about calling out any of these players. This is about calling out Mike Brown for continuing to make the same mistake over and over again. And I'm starting to wonder if Mike and Monty are even on the same page with this roster.
yeah,
Or maybe they both hate it. Maybe they both just look at each other like, I don't know. Because there's flaws like somewhere. Like Mike has spent 2 years trying to find something. We thought he found it in Keon. This year, it appears he didn't.
well, no, but I mean, he's playing Keon. I mean, he played Keon last night. He played Keon the last couple of games. Like, there's one game this season, I believe, where Keon got a DMP.
That's right.
And that was like the second game of the season. Outside of that, no, Keon.
Mike got
I mean,
bullied into playing him more.
yeah, he's playing, and hey, he's one guy shooting the ball well. But I'll tell you, the dude hits first threes and then never got another look at all. So
So one thing's for sure, whether you're being critical of Mike Brown or Colby Jones or not, and James, we'll talk more about this in a few minutes, is there is a depth problem on this team. As Keon scored 9 points yesterday, and the rest of the bench scored nothing. The bench combined on Friday night in just a disastrously awful offensive performance scored 9. Collectively, they scored 18 points over the last 2 games from the second unit. You're not going to win a basketball game like that. We'll come back. James isn't nearly as pissed off as we are, and it upsets me that we can't get James upset. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Kings because, James, they play the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ultimate get-right game. Stilo and KC brought to you by Sky River Casino and Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Let me step out real quick, guys.
Magic Johnson in the house. Magic in Maui. Always good to see Magic.
Monk is questionable, but there's a good chance he's playing. He's going to go out and try to give it a go. What's up, 40-20? Yeah, there's a good chance he's going to go tonight. I mean, the Kings really need him. We won't know though until he goes and does his warm up and then decides if he's going to play or not after he talks to the crew. But when a player goes from out on Saturday to doubtful Sunday morning to questionable like during the day, that's the build up to play. You don't have to do this. Like it is very suspect to have someone go from out to questionable or out to probable. And the league frowns upon that. But just to be honest, I've never heard until yesterday that there's some sort of like order that they have to go in. And if that was the case, they probably should not have put him as out on Saturday. Because that didn't have to be the case. He could have been doubtful on Saturday and then upgraded to questionable. Yeah. Yeah. Mason Jones is out. Mason Jones pulled something.
Yeah, what happened to Mace? I saw he was on the injury report. What did that happen?
I think
Was
it happened in a G League game.
I'm about to say because he played. Did he play against Atlanta or he was out? He might have played against Utah. I think that was the game he played.
Yeah, I'm looking at the roster from last night and like who is Mike supposed to play? I mean, you can play Jordan McLaughlin if you want, but if Dennis Schroeder played, maybe that would have made sense, but he didn't. And you needed somebody bigger because they're playing the ball through Cam Thomas the whole time, and they're running a 6'10" Ben Simmons as their point guard. So
part of me says, all right, put Jordan on Ben Simmons. Like if they want to say, if they would, like, I would almost dare them. This is just what I would do when I play Ben Simmons. I'll dare you to shoot 15 times. Go ahead.
yeah,
We're going to put Jordan McLaughlin on you. Go to the post him up and shoot 15 times from the block. I dare you. I bet you won't do it. I bet you won't do it.
yeah.
And if he's shooting 15 times from the block, that means Cam Thomas is probably not shooting as much as he is. That's what, but the NBA doesn't really work that way. Because like I said, we see a lot of times, I would always think like when people would play against the Warriors, I would never guard Draymond. Draymond, go ahead, shoot 20 times a night. I dare you to shoot 20 times a night. You won't, I bet you won't do it. But they don't play like that. They don't do stuff like that in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's an issue with rebounding. It's an issue with everything else, you know.
Last night specifically, I thought Kobe Jones came into the game in the fourth quarter for whatever reason for De'Aaron Fox. I thought that was should have been a 12-minute fourth quarter for De'Aaron Fox. And if you are making some type of substitutions, Keon should have been out there for the majority of that time instead of Kobe. Like Kobe's whatever. Like he's a young guy learning the game, and getting adjusted to the league, finding his role. It's whatever. I just don't think in that situation he should have been playing 5 minutes in that fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter, the 2 minutes where you pulled Keegan and De'Aaron trying to give them just a little bit of a break, and I think it included a timeout. Those are the 2 minutes where you went from up 1 to down 5.
It did include a timeout, and Fox didn't come in after the timeout. I said,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, you subbed them out. I wouldn't have, but okay, you subbed them out. I think it might have been a minute and a half. Something happened with a timeout.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Back here with James Ham of the Insiders as the Sacramento Kings are back on the floor tonight. The sweet confines of the Golden One Center, am I right?
Home sweet home.
You know what sucks about that, Hammer? There's a million things, but De'Aaron, Malik, they all talked about being better at home. And here we are, 9 games in? Is it 4 and 5?
4 and 5, I believe, yeah.
Man. That's tough, Hammer. And they got a lot of home games coming up. It's almost like, whew, can't wait for this team to get on the road. And they bond on the road, is what they say. Nothing like a good bonding trip to Portland.
Oh, joy.
Right after right after Thanksgiving. I don't know, man. I don't feel great, James. I don't feel great. Keegan Murray. When when you're lose 3 straight, when you're kind of playing below expectations, when you're 17 games in and you're below 500, there's a lot of blame to go around, and I do feel like some of this falls on the shoulders of Keegan Murray.
I mean, sure. He has not been able to be like sort of the offensive weapon. He's missed a ton of 3-point shots. But even like looking at last night's game, I was looking at like the advanced numbers from last night's game, and the box score read. I mean, it tells a lot of the story. It flat out does. So if you look at the offensive rating, defensive rating from last night's game, and you look at individuals from that game, De'Aaron Fox, of course, runs a 142 offensive rating and a 118 defensive rating. So he's like a plus 24. Keegan Murray, a 123 and a 116. So he's a plus 7. I can look at Kevin Huerter, 116, a 117. So he's a minus 1. Keon Ellis off the bench, a 136 and a 120. So he's a plus 16, right? Domantas Sabonis, a 108 versus a 113. He's a negative 5. You can overcome that. DeMar DeRozan was a 95 offensive rating and a 122 defensive rating. He's a negative 27 as far as like net rating for the game. Trey Lyles was an offensive rating of 31 and a defensive rating of 111. So while he was on the court, the offense was he was a negative 80. And Colby Jones was an 18 offensive rating and a 110 defensive rating. And I don't want to talk about the 4 minutes Doug McDermott played. They didn't score in that 4 minutes, I don't think, because he's a 0 offensive rating and a 124 defensive rating. So I don't think I've ever seen a player run a negative 124, but it's probably because I don't always look at that and don't know where these guys are at on a day in and day out basis like that. But yeah, that's not going to work. The bench didn't get moving at all, but they weren't the only ones. Again, like the starter minutes, everybody's got to be moving the right way, and the fact that this team is struggling as a whole is a big time problem. You lose games together, and sometimes we can point to people it's their fault and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, there's usually a whole lot of people that are involved in a loss and a lot of reasons why you lose a game. And again, free throw shooting. You lose a game by what, 6 points, 5 points. 5 points. De'Aaron Fox missed 4 free throws. Keegan Murray missed 2. You had 2 by Trey Lyles and 1 by Keon Ellis. His team misses 11 free throws in a 5 or 6 point loss. Those are reasons why you're losing games. And it feels like for Mike, he's kind of chasing his tail a little bit, because as soon as you get one thing fixed, all of a sudden one of these issues pops back up and you start taking a step backwards. So at some point, like, again, players have to take responsibility for some of the things that happen on the court. And it's not all about coaching. I think, again, long-term trends, we can talk about the fact that they're really bad defending the 3. They need to make an adjustment there. Like, I don't know what it is, but they have to make some sort of adjustment there. But outside of that, players have to hit shots. We can look at the numbers, but like missing wide open threes from the corner, it just doesn't make sense that good shooters are missing shots. And, I know they worked on it where Mike shortened practice for a day and they took a bunch of threes after practice. And next thing you know, they hit a bunch of threes. But like, that seems like it's a no brainer. And I know these guys are working, so none of it really pieces together. I don't get why it is that they're not finding success together as of right now. And they got to figure it out.
You talk about the defense and defending the 3. James, I want to know if you see the same things that I believe I'm seeing. Watching that game last night, it seemed like the only person, how do I put this? It looked different when De'Aaron Fox was contesting a three. And every time he contested a three, lo and behold, it didn't go in. It looked more aggressive. It looked more intentional. It looked like he was using the high five method, like he was getting out on the shot when he was defending the three. Do you see the same thing? Do the numbers say the same thing? Obviously, we've seen the numbers about opponents' field goal percentage when he's guarding them. But even something like with a closeout, it feels like he's the only one that I see on a consistent basis closing out to the three-point shooters in an aggressive manner that actually contests the shot. Do you kind of see the same things, or am I just maybe making that up?
No. I mean, I think it has something to do with the fact that he's faster than everybody else. He's just quicker and can close out quicker. He's not as tall as some of these guys, but I think it is that he closes out a lot quicker than the other guys. I don't know. Again, like they walked us through like their defensive mindset when it came to shooting threes. I think that their goal coming into this season was to sort of hedge and not give guys free run at the basket, and make sure that you're supposed to defend your man, but you're also supposed to lean into the passing lane a little bit and try to take away some of the opposition's ability to drive the basketball. That's one of their things. I also think sort of the weak side defender, the guy who's usually defending the corner three on the opposite side, he's supposed to fly down underneath the basket and be a help defender underneath the basket, and that's leaving the far corner three wide open. So if you have a team who's really moving the ball well, they're getting the ball out to that corner three. And then I think there's just naturally something to when you play a team that's not good at defending the three, and we can talk about it the other way, right? The Kings always talk about the hot guy. Like anytime somebody comes in the game that's a good 3-point shooter, you instantly gravitate towards them. You do not let that person loose, right? And while I hear them talk about that shooter all the time, number one, I still see them leave that shooter. Like we can talk about Clowney hitting a couple of what would he go 5 of 8 from 3 or something last night. I mean, Clowney's a 38% 3-point shooter. I mean, he's not like a scorching, crazy, 3-point shooter. But I'll tell you this, he's shooting the ball a whole hell of a lot better than Kevin Huerter or Keegan Murray at this point. So you probably should have defended him. The fact that he busts you up for 15 points from behind the arc is a problem. But I also feel like when you walk into Golden One Center or you walk into a game against the Kings, everybody knows, the scouting report says that they're one of the worst teams in the league at defending the three. So everybody get ready because we're going to hoist them, and because they're not going to stop it. They're not going to make an adjustment. They haven't figured out how to defend the three yet. So we're all going to shoot them tonight. And then it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like everybody is out there looking for the three. And sure enough, there it is. They find it and they're confident and they're ready to go. And again, there are times where I think, oh my gosh, how many times are you going to leave Garrison Matthews wide open? Like, I don't get that. But there are also times where guys are hitting threes that don't typically hit threes, and it becomes like an accumulation. It's not just, the guys who the hot shooters are hitting, 15 threes. It's that extra 4 or 5 threes that you're getting from just like randos that you didn't expect. And it's because everybody is walking into the game knowing that they're going to get open looks, and they're hitting them against the Kings.
I don't expect you to know the answer. What's the fix for this? Like I feel like what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? It was, touch the paint, spray. That's the thing, right? Touch the paint, kick it out. There's the three. Touch it. Okay, where they're doing that. Like Kenny went over the number of times that they touched the paint, threw it out to Kevin Huerter, and he missed. Touch the paint, threw it out to. It's not as simple as they're not getting the types of threes that they want. It's just that they're not. And I feel like 2 weeks ago we were like, well, it can't be this bad forever. Well, it's not forever, but goddamn, hit a couple.
Yeah.
Hit two. Like, don't shoot 20%, shoot 26%, and you win some of these games. Like they have just like it's like it's not. This team refuses to be. Oh man, they're just not very good here. It's either they're really good or they're awful. They can't be in between on anything.
Well, I'll tell you, like 2 weeks ago, we were looking at this team. They're shooting 30.1% from three, and now they're shooting 33.4. So they are getting better. It's just not good enough. Like again, like the improvement is happening. De'Aaron Fox certainly has started hitting his threes, and you're seeing a couple of guys step up. I mean, at this point, Fox is now shooting 35.6% from three, where we were looking at him as like a 27, 28% shooter, wondering if that's who he was now. And Keon Ellis is now shooting 43.4% from three. I think one of the easiest answers might be to, again, like if they're going to make a lineup change here, I don't particularly, I mean, I would understand a lineup change. And I would hope that Keon Ellis would step into the starting lineup and start hitting threes at the same clip that he has been lately. But I also worry about the blame game because, like, look, I think there's enough blame to go around on this team, and pushing Kevin Huerter to the bench. While I know that that's something that a lot of people would be here for, I also, I'm not sure that that's the best answer either. Because I don't personally think he hasn't been a solution, and his 3-point shooting has not been good. But I also think that they have much bigger issues than Kevin Huerter on this team right now.
All right. Well, James, don't you got to get on down to the Golden One Center?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I gotta leave.
Yeah, I forgot. I thought we were just kicking it. Bye, James. Go to work, James.
Bye, friends. Got to get on the road.
James Ham on his way to the Golden One Center where the Sacramento Kings